Hello, PRA. We're at El Mirage Dry Lake Bed. I am with the legend in her own time, Marion Springer, the grand dame of gyroplanes. This woman has done everything, okay? She's so well respected and known in the whole world. Anyway, without further ado, I am going to, if I can find the, how do I switch the camera back?
I think it's
is that it? Yes, okay. Here we go. Well, wait a minute. That's terrible. I'm going to have to move my chair because her face is in shadow. Okay. Marion, what's your first... Now, she's a little... Okay, her hearing is not what it used to be, and it's noisy out here, all right? So, I'm going to point to questions, and then she hopefully will get the questions right. Her first memories were of Benson and how she started in this. Okay, so Marion, take it over to you. Tell us about your life.
Ready for me to...
Yep.
Okay. Have your paper.
Okay.
Oh, one thing I found out the hard way is if you're sitting there with all running up, ready to go, and you go over and turn the key off, it'll automatically jump off.
When my husband got interested in the gyro,
I'm live on Facebook.
I could not see that funny-looking machine. We had a two-place airplane. It was called an Aranca Champ. We had not too long before recovered it, and I had painted it a metal like blue with gold stripes down the side and stars on the nose.
Sounds beautiful.
And I thought I had heaven in my pocket with a good husband, 4 good children, and an airplane. I'd get my husband off to work in the morning, get my kids off to school in the morning, and I'd go fly all day. We had a puppy, a shepherd puppy, and I wanted him to get to the point where he would fly with me in the airplane. And he was afraid of riding in the car. And I asked Yvette about that. He says, take him for a ride anytime you can. Let him just sit in your car. He will get used to it. Well, I followed his advice, and after a while...
Okay, bad signal. Here we go. Okay, continue. It stopped. I'm sorry. Our signal stopped for a moment, folks. So
you want me to slow down?
Yeah, it's going. Keep going.
Well, I let him ride in the car every time I went somewhere, and before long he would beat me to the car when he heard me get the keys. So he was my car buddy, and he enjoyed flying. He would sit in the back seat. He could stand on it, he could lay down on it, but he couldn't get on the floor to interfere with the back rear control stick. So he would sit on the seat, he would reach up his leg and put his paw on my shoulder, and he would sit there and look out at the countryside. So he was my buddy.
That's fine.
Well,
Go take, you know, I'm doing it. Go take his money.
We had a granddaughter come along about that time, our first grandchild. I was the babysitter. Well, goodbye, Champ. We don't get to fly anymore. I'm on the ground changing diapers. Anyway, I was a babysitter for about 3 months, and I said, it's long enough sitting on the ground. I bundled that baby up, strapped her down in the back of the seat, and we went flying. And the engine would lull her to sleep in about 3 minutes. She logged a lot of flying hours, and poor Duke just waited on the ground. But
Okay. Now, tell me how you started.
I was happy with our life with the airplane. It was an Aranca Champ, and I loved it. Besides doing an outside cover, I made uh, uh, new side panels and a headliner, and I used white naugahyde inside, and I stitched diamond shapes through the naugahyde into a half-inch foam.
Wow.
And it was just absolutely beautiful.
And what about gyros?
So I was happy with the airplane. And then Daco saw an advertisement for a gyrocopter. I didn't know what the gyrocopter was. He showed me a picture of it. And it did not look like much to me. It was just a bare bones aluminum tubes bolted together. And the more I talked against it, the more he was going to build one. And he did. He built one. And it looked as funny as I thought it would. But he needed to learn to fly it. We took it on a pickup in the bed of his pickup, and first time we took it to Bodega Bay, to the coast of the ocean, Pacific Ocean.
When? What date? What date? The time? You know?
What?
Write down what date. Just a minute, folks. About.
I cannot remember what time. It probably was sometime in the summer. I would say the late summer. I remember at one time after it was all finished, this is getting hid just a little, my husband was going to be home for the whole week. He didn't have work that week, and we planned to take the gyro. We were flying it then, and we planned to take it to the old Navy base, which had two absolutely perfect runways, no buildings, no business, and the runways were 7,500 feet. It had been a military field, and then it was taken out of military service, and it was in private ownership. So it was there, and people just used it to try to learn to fly, or maybe shoot a landing as they were going by. Well, that was the second place we took it. The first place we took it out to Bodega Bay, and on the coast. Took it up on the highest hill, and we were going to kite it. Kite it means tying a rope on the front end of the gyro, tying the other end of the rope on something sturdy and stable that won't move, and putting the blades on the machine, spinning the blades up, and then letting the wind pick the blades up to speed and lift you up. We had the first gyro in Santa Rosa. So by the time we got from our home to the coast, which was about 22, 23 miles, there were 6 vehicles following us.
Right down here. Go ahead.
And they followed us right to the top of the hill. The people got out of the vehicles to watch the action. But I don't know.
About.
I don't know.
Okay, she doesn't know exactly
I may
the
find
year.
it for you. But,
Okay.
so people were watching. Well, my husband got on the seat of the machine, and I spun the blades up, and the wind was blowing pretty good, but it wasn't blowing strong enough to pick the blades up to speed that he needed to get off the ground. So after sitting there for a while, I said, let me try it. I don't weigh as much as you do. So he got off the machine and I got on it. I have to tell you, we didn't know enough to have a helmet between us. And I was holding the control stick with 2 hands. Talk about a baby beginner here. So anyway, he spun the blades up for me, and the wind picked them up the speed pretty fast, and all of a sudden I was sitting at the top of the rope.
Wow.
All of 15 feet off the ground. And that changed my life. As much as I loved the airplane that we'd had it for about 12 or 14 years. As much as I loved it, it moved to second place in my life instantly. We didn't even have an engine on the gyro. Oh. But it took control of my heart. It just took me over like that. And I was in my 30s, early 30s, 32 or
She said
something like that.
1964.
Okay.
1964, she said.
Okay. And so I knew instantly that the gyro had taken control of my heart. I knew it would never let go. Today, I am a few months past 89 years. And guess what I've been doing all day today? Spending it with a bunch of gyro pilots. And besides that, I'm writing another book, and it's going to be about gyros. So I guess it's going to hold on to me until I kick off. But
Okay, when did you start being a CFI? Let me see, where's the... Okay. No. Okay, yeah. A CFI.
well, after that day at Bodega Bay up on the head, highest hill, my feet hardly touched the ground.
I know that feeling.
We still didn't have an engine. We were a young family with 4 little children and not much money. So we had to save for an engine, but we could fly it on a tow rope. Well, there was the old Navy base 10 miles from our home. So we started taking the gyro out to the Navy base, tying a rope on the front end of the gyro, the other end of the rope on the frame of the truck. And we would pull each other on the runways over there. And that way we learned to fly the machine. We learned to get the blades up to speed. We learned that you don't hold the control stick like you're holding on to a baseball bat. You just hold it lightly and you just make little tiny moves by wrist action, not your whole arm. You make a whole arm movement, you're going to do something radical that you don't want to do in the gyro. So we put a lot of hours taxiing back and forth, one
Totally self-taught.
driving the car, the other one kiting. And on a tow rope, we would climb as high as the rope would allow. We could move to one side or the other side of the runway, and we could learn to land. We learned a lot just on the tow rope, and we were saving money all the time till we got enough for an engine. And the engine we were looking for would be a McCulloch engine. The McCulloch came in 2 horsepowers, either 72 horsepower or a 90. And of course, I wanted more power. So
Pilots do.
we bought a 90-horse McCulloch and put it on the gyro. Oh, a whole new ball game.
Freedom.
Now we're going to be flying on power. We're not going to be limited to staying right over the runway tied to the truck. Freedom.
Yeah.
The engine said freedom. And so we learned to take off. We learned to fly straight and level. We learned to make turns. We learned to make complete circles. We learned to climb, to land. And at one time, it was August. In August, my husband had a week off of work. Oh, joy. We were going to fly all day long the whole week. Would you believe it rained the whole blessed week? We didn't get off the ground. It rained the whole
That's
week.
miserable.
And this was Santa Rosa. It didn't rain like that very often.
Right.
So we took turns flying with his gyro. We went out as often as we could and build up our time on it. And then one day, my husband said to me, oh man, this made me happy. He said, we're going to have to build you a gyro of your own. You're hogging all the time on my machine. Oh man, I was the happiest kid in town. And he made me do most of the work on the tubing, as far as cutting tubing, and also drilling holes. And I remember on one piece, it happened to be the keel, which was about 12 feet long piece of 2 by 2 inch tubing, aluminum tubing. And I got one hole just a little incy bit off. He threw the whole thing apart.
Trash.
I had to get the drill. I had to drill the holes just perfect. So I did. I got better at it, and I drilled them. And when I had the framework all drilled, then he put them together. He could, cinch them up tighter than I could. And then it came to rotor blades. This was before Benson had come out with metal blades. He started with a kit of parts to make the metal blades, and then he came out with, and they'd be wood. And then he came out with wood blades that were completely made but not painted. So when he had built his gyro, the one that we had trashed, he had got the kit and built the blades by kit. It was a little less expensive. But with the second time we were building, he bought the blades that were finished. They were built, and they needed to be finished. It was going to go on my gyro, the blades were, and I was going to make a semi-enclosure for I did a lot of fiberglass work, and we had molds for a semi-enclosure. And so I made a blue metal flake fiberglass semi-enclosure for it. So the blades, of course, had to be blue metal flake. I'll tell you, there was a lot of work in making those blades.
I bet.
They didn't have equipment. If they did, I didn't know about it. If I'd known about it, I couldn't have afforded it. So I would put a little varnish on the blades. I would take, don't laugh at this, I would take a salt shaker that was filled with fine metal flake, and I would shake that onto the blade that had the wet varnish on it.
Very good.
And when we got enough varnish and glitter on it, then Daco would put a color on it, a varnish with a color in it, so it turned out as blue metal flake rubber.
Beautiful.
And they were very beautiful. They were good. I didn't get them too heavy. I kept them in balance really good. And I had my own gyro.
Finally.
Meantime, he had built one for him, so we had his and hers. And we spent a lot of time on the old Navy base learning to fly our gyros. I gotta tell you a little thing here that maybe some people will think is not nice, but we did a lot of practicing of different things on landings. We practiced landing with the engine shut off. Now, when you do that, the pilot has very few options once he shuts the engine down. And we were practicing shutting the engine down and then go out and start it and do it again. And after a while, there was a little red car that came onto the Navy base.
Uh-oh, I'm going to lose a battery. It's going to... Okay. Well, finish real quickly because I'm running out of battery. Right down, I'm running out of battery. So we got like about 30 seconds. We're going to have to wrap up.
You want me to go on?
Yes.
Your pen?
Yes.
Well, we were practicing our dead stick landings. And once a pilot shuts the engine off, the gyro is going to
Go ahead.
The gyro will come out of the sky pretty fast. Somebody says if you're 30, 40 feet in the air and you shut the engine off, in 1 second you're on the ground. It's not that fast, but it is fast. And you have no time to go somewhere else, no altitude or time to go looking for a better place to land. So when your engine quits in a gyro, you're going to land straight ahead.
Right there, yeah.
And that's what we were doing. We were taking off on the runway and getting up about 30, 40 feet and shutting the engine off and landing straight ahead. And then a little red sports car came out on the runway. Shouldn't even been there. No vehicles like cars and trucks are supposed to be on the runway. Well, he was running up and down the runway, and we were waving our arms at him. Get out, get out. He totally ignored us. He kept running back and forth, and I was furious. He added a lot of danger to what we were doing, and I decided to run him off the field.
Sounds like our Marion.
So I did. I positioned my gyro at the north end of the runway. The engine was running, the blades were up to speed. I waited until he got down to the south end of this runway, long runway. I watched him get in the middle of the runway, and that's where I was flying, taking off right in the middle. And I watched him start his run toward me, and then I started my run toward him.
Chicken!
And I held it dead center, and he kept coming toward me. What I planned to do was when he got close enough, I planned to zoom up over him and scare the daylights out of him, make him leave.
I love it, Marion.
Well, he chickened out before he got close to me. He thought that idiotic woman was going to run right into me. I had taken off and leveled at 4 feet above the ground.
I love
And
it.
I held a tight 4 feet going straight at him. He lost his nerve and he veered off and he left the runway.
Okay, we're gonna have
He
to.
did not come back.
We're gonna have to cut. I'm losing battery. I wish I could do more. I'll try to get this charged up. Okay. That is the Grand Dame of Gyroplanes, a legend in her home time. I'll tell you, she's a fabulous woman. Thank you, Marion, for all you've done for us. We'll see you guys. Bye.